Guys, are you in Florida?
Nope.
Okay,
I'm in Charlotte.
you're in between. You're going back to Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Okay, awesome. Well, welcome. Good to see you.
thanks.
All righty. Got a little reading for us today.
I think Ajna is trying to get our attention.
Yes,
What?
yes. If it won't be too much of an imposition, I would like, it's not Buddhist, but it is sort of chant a prayer for peace, for world peace, if y'all don't mind. It's short,
Okay. Rather
okay?
do it at the end. Are you going to be here?
Am I going to be here? I was hoping to.
Okay. I didn't know if you were leaving early.
No, no,
Let- yeah,
I,
let-
I
let-
just wanted, I've been wanting to do this all week, so I've been practicing.
Oh, well, thank you. So you want to wait till the end?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
we'll
Because-
remind you before we own.
that's very Buddhist. Take care of your business and then send whatever you got out to the world, right?
Oh, come desire of nations, fill all creation with love and peace. Bid anger, strife, and hatred cease. Fill all creation with love and peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anja. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajna.
So this is a poem by Fernando Pessoa. Calm because I'm unknown. And because I'm calm. I want to fill my days with wanting nothing from them. For those whom wealth touches, gold irritates the skin. For those on whom fame blows, life fogs over. On those for whom happiness is their sun, night will fall. But those who hope for nothing are glad for whatever comes. And I like that in the spirit of Thanksgiving, being grateful. One of our favorite Zen teachers was a woman who only taught, I'm grateful for everything. I have no regrets whatsoever and
Complaints.
no complaints. And that's, just try that sometime. It's easy to say, impossible to do. I'm really grateful for my arthritis. I'm grateful for my hemorrhoids. I'm grateful for my irritating kids. So I think what this series should be called is Why You Should Not Believe Your Brain. I think it's very important to understand how the brain functions and how much misinformation it's giving you about what's happening in this present moment. So today I wanted to look at what happens when information comes into your senses. So I'm going to have to refer to my notes a little bit because this is something I haven't totally integrated in my thought. You're really on the cutting edge of it. So they're now talking about the brain in terms of networks, not so much the mammalian brain, the lizard brain, stuff that we were taught. Turns out not to be particularly true, but that there are several regions of the brain that get co-activated. They work together and reinforce each other. And the first one of those is the network, the recognition network, that the sensory information comes in and is neutral. But the first process that it does is to divide it into neutral, pleasant, and unpleasant. And we've talked about that. That's the primary sort. So imagine it going in and like a computer taking the information and putting through that first sort. Now the second network is the affective networks of the brain. So that information goes in. If it's perceived as a threat, it activates the network that goes to work preparing you for fight or flight, activating the adrenal glands. So already this is happening in a half a second below the level of your perception. There's also a reward network that it goes through that gets you excited about the prospects of something that's pleasant. Now, those two things then go to another set of parts of your brain that are called the strategic parts that are going to determine how you express this. So when you get your fight or flight activated, you begin to see where the potential threat is and start devising ways of avoiding it, preventing it from happening. The other part of your brain is the part that becomes the addictive part of your brain that starts releasing dopamine and gets you excited about the prospect and already thinking about what it's going to be like to do the thing that you're going to enjoy. And we were just talking, for example, about getting excited about going to a concert. Well, feel how that feels when you say, oh, Metallica is playing today. And already you start planning towards that. When so much of this happens, okay, working in chemical dependency, we used to do a thing where people would say, oh, I'm in control of my smoking dope. We go, oh, fine. Well, let's hook you up to the blood pressure monitor. Let's take a look at your pupils. Let's see how your heart rate does. And we'd hand them papers and some oregano and say, roll a joint. And immediately they're already flooded with euphoric recall. They're now in the memory part of their bank where they're remembering what it was like to get high. They haven't touched a drug yet, and already everything in their brain is lit up. What we don't realize is that process is happening in your brain all day long, that you're having anticipatory responses in your body given the way your brain filters the information that's coming in through your senses. So what's kind of interesting, and I'm playing with how this factors in, notice how if it's a pleasant sensation and the energy has no dissonances, you stay unconscious, which is one of the problems with addictions, is that this whole process plays out and we have something that we call picking up, which means I suddenly realize that I've actually done the drug without ever realizing I did it. These are these kinds of habitual behaviors. Any of you with a food addiction will realize you're trying not to eat or try to fast for a day, and you realize you put food in your mouth already, and then it dawned, ooh, I'm trying to fast. So why are we not totally locked into these? Okay, this is all your conditioned brain. The purest part of that is the pure perception, which is before the brain goes to work, adding information. So let's look at that first part of after the perception, where you have that affective, the emotional response to it. In that moment, the brain begins to do some interesting things with the way it organizes the information into meaning. If it's something that if it's something that it doesn't recognize, you get a pushback. It's stranger danger. It's xenophobia. It's an automatic, whoa, this is a threat because my brain,
Fear of the unknown.
fear of the unknown, that we get, that gets set up in your brain again without your permission, so it starts blocking certain information. Does that make sense? And this is what we call negative hallucination. It's a trance state because you're not in reality. The sense of danger is being added by your brain without your permission. Okay? The other thing is that if it's something that it does recognize, it doesn't just leave it alone. It begins to organize the pattern and actually add information that's not there to make it into something that you know, which is why you have this sense of repeating Groundhog Day over and over again, because your brain is actively ignoring things that are there and adding things that aren't there to get back to something that it's comfortable with. All right? So when we say mindfulness can cure addiction or mindfulness can give you happiness, there's only one part of this whole process that you can control. And that's the part where you get the impulse to act. And there's a brief moment in there before your brain, when the brain decides for you what you're going to do, before it gets transferred to the part that's actually going to take action. And this is what the Buddhists call Shenpa. Shenpa is if you can catch the subtlety of your brain with that mosquito bite going, I've got to scratch it, I've got to scratch it, okay? That's also the piece of pie in the refrigerator going, I've got to eat it, I've got to eat it, okay? So the reason we're trying to be aware and to catch things is to catch those moments. That's the weak, vulnerable spot in this whole place where we can choose not to act, all right? So people say, how does not scratching an itch have anything to do with the spirituality? It has everything to do with undoing the conditioned mind, all right? Because when I don't allow it to continue firing and hitting those reward centers, it weakens that connection, all right? And each time it emerges, it gets a little bit easier not to act on it. The same way with pleasurable things. If they don't get the payoff and the reward, it begins to extinguish. So people say they're in control of their lives when they're really unaware of how much we're acting on the strongest impulse at the moment, okay? You're really not in control of your life until you can do this, sit with that uncomfortable feeling that's making you want to do something when it emerges and not do it. Now, the other thing we found out is that by the time you get to the conceptualizing part of your brain and trying to understand strategies, you're already doomed pretty much to repeat old habitual patterns, okay? The brain's going to do that kind of path of least resistance. Here's what I'm supposed to do, and it rationalizes it. So watch how you think you're thinking clearly, but you're basically rationalizing what you've already decided to do, okay? You're giving yourself permission. And that's why when someone in the world doesn't give you permission to do what your brain tells you is the right thing to do, you go to war with it. Because your brain has defined what it wants to do as being the truth. And this is part of a defense mechanism. So if someone disagrees with it, then I feel like my whole truth network, the foundation of my life, is being attacked. So it's when I say distrust what your brain is telling you, I'm totally serious. So you get people like Krishnamurti who is saying everything you've learned before is worthless in this moment. That's what they're giving you permission to do, is to let go of all these signals you're getting from your brain that are telling you what you should do and what is the right thing to do, and giving you permission to land in an unstructured present moment. That's where your freedom is. And Eric Fromm wrote a very powerful book called Escape from Freedom. And he says he used it on animals that are raised in cages, and then they release them in the wild. They won't go out, even though you offer them freedom, because they are now, their nervous system is conditioned to live in the cage. And the threat of the expansiveness of freedom is terrifying. So again, we've got another tendency here on the cushion that wants us to avoid the very spaciousness and freedom that we're looking for, because our brain doesn't recognize it. It's the same way with genuine affection. Oh my God, I have no framework for someone caring about me without trying to manipulate me. The same way with pleasure. So many of you say, go outside, do this. Why don't we do that? Because the brain is constantly pushing back against that because it is unknown. So spiritual writers write books like Freedom from the Known. That's a Krishnamurti book. Or Alan Watts's The Wisdom of Insecurity. Or Pema Chod's on Learning to Live with Groundlessness.
Or uncertainty.
Or uncertainty. All of them pointing us to the safest place to be is in your senses, here, letting those programs run, know what they are, know that if you need them, they're there, but that 98% of what they're telling you is irrelevant to where your ass is right now. So get your mind and your butt in the same room, which is why we're trying to come to our senses, is to learn to get back to that more pristine mind of perception. So how'd I do, Sandy? Okay.
Awareness, awareness,
Awareness, awareness, awareness, awareness. We can't hear you. Unmute yourself, Sandy. Okay, Sandy, neuroscientist, so.
Yes, I got it. No, that's a logical pattern,
Okay,
and it makes a lot of sense, and I've got lots of notes already.
okay. All righty, so
Thank
now
you.
what we're gonna do is take what we've been doing and apply it. So,
guided
guided
meditation.
meditation, turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream. This is not dying. This is wait, somebody wrote that already. I didn't need to say that.
All right.
So to begin to establish peace in the body, shutting off the reactive mind, the emotional centers. Take a few deep abdominal breaths. Quick inhale, slow exhale. Which generates nitric oxide. which begins to calm the limbic system. As the limbic system calms, the default network begins to relax. Begins to sense that there's no need to plan a strategy for protecting you. In this moment, I take refuge in my breath. I take refuge. And as you feel your body begin to settle, you can let go of the controlled breath, letting the breath find its own rhythm. And begin to bring the sensations of the body into awareness. Your sensations are always present moment. Not thinking the sensations, not trying to find meaning, not trying to create anything. And if you're doing that, realize that's just your brain doing what it's supposed to do. It doesn't make you a bad meditator. It just means you got a brain, but you don't have to listen to it. So let those voices recede into the background, letting the sensations come to the foreground in their purity. Noting that the more you anchor in your senses, the more a feeling of groundedness begins to pervade, a sense of at-homeness on your cushion. A sense of worthiness. This is the diamond throne, reclaiming your dignity. Nothing to improve here, nothing to work on. Simply awareness meeting perception directly, without interpretation. And as you sit, Notice when you leave. Notice when you lose the breath. Lose what your gaze is settled on. Lose the feelings of your body. And just note, where did I go? What caused me to disconnect? Was it an uncomfortable sensation in my body that my body wanted to push out? Was it a thought generated by the monkey mind of what I need to do when I leave here? Was it imagining something you'd rather be doing than being right here? And catch that and begin to let go of the forms and settle in on the sensations in your body, the energy. The moment that you cease to allow yourself and the world to be what they are, and the beginning of going to war. Wanting something different than what's happening in this moment. Feel the tightness in your body that's generated by this conditioning. And without listening to it, without going to war with it, just sit with the sensations. Letting go of all interpretation, all need to do anything. And just know that something's impeded the flow of energy. And that you're learning the best tool to be free and find peace and joy and connection, which is to become comfortable with each moment that passes through. Awareness precedes thought. Babies function without it, animals function without it, you can too. Softening, receiving all the energy available in this moment. Feeling the thrill as it connects with your senses and flows through. we say emptying ourselves of ego, we mean allowing all the constrictions to release without acting. Feeling that intimate connection with spirit as energy, as it resonates with your spirit as energy and awareness. In a flow that's sometimes a flow of resonance, sometimes a flow of dissonance. Just like music, that sometimes you prefer it and sometimes you don't. But staying open to the song. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's not good, it's not bad. But it is real. right, any questions, comments?
I'll go. Um, ever since I started coming here, the biggest takeaway for me, and I was at my 12-step meeting on Thursday, and it was on the 11th step, which is prayer and meditation. And I went first, and I shared how coming here has given me the permission to not, that I don't have to do this meditation thing perfectly. And that it's okay to have all the thoughts that float through your mind, and to make friends with those thoughts and laugh at some of those thoughts that come across my head, like, well, I haven't gotten enough for my daughter's baby shower, and I need to do this and I need to do that. And I shared that in the meeting, and how it has just given me permission to be okay with how I do this and what I get out of it. And then everybody went around the room, and everybody said the same thing. I can't meditate because I can't shut my mind off.
I know.
And I was like, see, I'm so good. Not really, but it was like, and one lady did say, thank you for sharing that, Beth, because my brain, anyway, I don't know. It was the first time at a meeting where I got to sound like maybe I was okay. Might be okay in these meetings, even though I've been around them for 26 years.
I get you, dear. And, it's the same thing with yoga. I can't come because I can't do those poses. And it's not that they can't do yoga or they can't meditate. It's that they have the wrong understanding of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by your brain already goes and rationalizes why you're not going to do what you're uncomfortable doing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's been a really really helpful. And hush up. And I can let my dogs whine while I'm doing it, and just go, yep, that dog wants his bone, and I don't have to get up right now and get it for him, even though everything in me wanted to do it. So he'll shut up.
So now to refine a little bit, Beth, don't even get to the level of interpretation of the situation. Okay. That my dog wants his bone, because there I'm already trying to establish
Story making.
context.
Yeah.
And that's a storyline,
Yeah.
You start describing it. So that is another layer that you can let go of and just let it be noise.
Let it be noise.
Not
Okay.
even noise. Let it just be a dissonance that's hitting my nervous system, and it doesn't feel particularly comfortable. But as Tommy loves that phrase, I can stand this. How long can I stay open? So here's the thing I found funny is that when we get into the pleasure centers and they'll go that direction, notice how you fall asleep. Okay? When life really feels good, there's this tendency to become unconscious on your cushion. Pain wakes you up, but pain wakes you up in egoic consciousness, which means I want to push it out of me. I don't want it. So I'm awake, but I'm at war. And how to maintain the balance between those two, to be as open and relaxed as I am when things are pleasant, and not shutting down to what my brain's interpreting as unpleasant. So this is what we mean by avoiding the tendency to trance out or to close, okay? Which are the two states that we tend to be in all day. Think about it. Things are going well, I'm on automatic pilot, okay? As soon as I hit a bump in the road, I'm aware, but I'm trying to control and analyze. So we really are trying again to bring those two polar opposite states of consciousness together, which is how to stay awake for the pleasure. That's the reason that we don't see the kingdom, is we're trying to create it. And it's here, but we're asleep for it. And that's why they call it sleepwalking through your life. Who wrote that song? I don't want to sleepwalk. I don't want to do your sleepwalk dance anymore.
You know, we have a situation at the church where I teach yoga. And we've become actually comfortable with having some background noises going on. You know, maybe it's way down the hall, but somebody could be vacuuming in the middle of yoga. Or, you know, you can hear some people talking off in the distance. And it's been a great practice of letting that go, or even embracing it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
you know,
but it doesn't have to be embraced in that sense. It's an allowance.
It's an allowance.
Yeah.
It's what's here now.
Yeah.
And on Thursday, the piano tuner came.
Oh no.
During yoga. And it was at the end, like close to Shavasana. So I just turned my music off. I thought, well, there's no sense in going to war with it or trying to drown it out. And, you know, we were all, you know, sort of laughed about it at the end, but again, just allow it in, because there was no level of control that I have. I can't go in there and tell the piano tuner to go home. So, yeah, it was fun.
Linnell, I cannot imagine any sound more comforting than to be meditating and hear someone vacuuming my house.
There you go. I like that.
Ajna, we don't need your erotic fantasies, okay?
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
No, seriously, thank you for sharing.
That's good. That's good.
Look out, you're being attacked. Gina. Oh, never mind.
The other thing that occurred to me, and I think we've talked about it before, and I'm referring back to yoga, is that we have many breath practices, which you guided us into one, and that's that belly breathing. And then they say the natural breath is also a breath practice. Why is that a breath practice? And to me, it occurs to me, it's a breath practice because we have to let go of controlling it.
Absolutely.
So that's the practice of natural breathing. And it is a challenge. It's that Shenpa. Oh, I could make this breath deeper and exhale longer. And yet the practice is to just let the body breathe and not do anything. And that is a major practice on and off the mat.
So, and that's exactly right. Just notice the brain immediately start trying to control the breath the minute you say, I'm going to let the breath find its own rhythm.
Yeah.
And then that Randy Newman song starts playing. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't seem to be getting what everyone's getting. Yeah, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Sometimes I get off a good one. At least I think it is. No, I know it is, but I shouldn't be thinking it at all. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. So, yeah, the inner judge, watch it. Watch your brain. So let's strip it of all mysticism. All these guys were technicians of the brain. We know that they were able to consciously begin to direct their brain and nervous system from one place to another. And that's what you're learning. And I've waited for 50 years for science to catch up to the fact to be able to say, yes, that is exactly what they're doing. We can do functional MRIs now and see what part of the brain they're in when they're meditating. Doesn't matter whether it's a Buddhist monk or whether it's a Catholic nun or whether it's a stone atheist practicing mindfulness. They're going to the same places in their brain. If we put them up on a screen, you couldn't tell which one was which. So all this worry about what religion or what practice or what should I study, this is why we've stripped down to saying this is what works. This is science-based. Now, what I want to point out is when we say mindfulness, I don't hear mindfulness teacher talking about this point of Shenpa. Mm-hmm. We do everything except direct you to the one place where you break addictions. And that's that ability to catch the mind when it's telling you you have to do something, that compulsive thought, feeling before thought, okay? And that's where you're going to set yourself free. It's being enough in the moment to feel that emerge and not let it spiral into thought, not let it spiral into action, but to sit with it and release that energy without acting on it.
Well, I was thinking very much about this group, these people that are on my screen, all of these faces. And I woke up thinking about all these faces this morning. And the one thing that when I woke up thinking about it, I felt, gee, how grateful I'm feeling, and how grateful my mind is by saying, oh, finally, you found a spot where you can go and just be there, Tim. And if there's a part of me that goes like, wow, I go through the whole week and I look forward to this Saturday, and my whole brain, I'm feeling my whole brain, my whole toes, everything is going like, oh, it's almost 8 o'clock. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm really mean that, like, let's go. I work in a hospital and I think it's wonderful and all that kind of stuff. And oh, Tim, you're doing great. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. But it's this Saturday, this hour, that it's like everything comes together for just a brief hour, and it's like, wow, okay. I mean, it's nurturing for me. It truly, truly, truly feeds me on levels that I did not think were there for me.
Great.
Truly.
Now,
Love that.
not to harsh or smooth or anything, but what is that? What is that feeling that you're getting before we're here?
It's that anticipatory
Yes.
that you were talking about.
A longing, when's it going to happen? How can I get there sooner?
Yep.
And then I'm thinking, well, then I thought, well, gee, what if all the electricity went out all over the whole world and there was not any kind of, quote, visible connection? Tim, what do you do then? Can you still do it then?
Yeah. It's
Wow.
right there underneath that yearning, which is already translated into those reward centers. That euphoric recall is what we drug addicts call it, which is I'm shooting up and I'm anticipating a high that no longer comes from the drug, but comes from euphoric recall in my memory banks.
Yes, yes.
And so, so much of that, what we're doing fades into that, all right? And then and I've got a note here that I didn't talk about. This is too much to absorb. What your default position tells you is going to happen is never as good as it tells you it's going to be. Think about how many times you've anticipated something, and then when it happens, it's not that great. And how many times was what you dreaded not that bad? You know, and so this is what I'm trying to we'll deal with next time, is how your brain creates energy on its own. None of that energy that you're dealing with is coming from reality.
Bart, if I could extend that, when meditating a few minutes ago, I was thinking about what you started out talking about the anticipating the high of being on a drug. How often do we have anticipatory dread? And it could be something as minor as going to the dentist. I dread going to the dentist days before I have to go. I mean, even if it's just for a teeth cleaning. So what I've done then is I have extended the pain. Okay, so I might be feeling pain when I'm at the dentist as they're poking me with their sharp instruments. That's bad enough. But now I've extended my pain for a week, dreading it, right? And that anticipation is what causes suffering. On the other side,
It is suffering.
I might be anticipating something that has been pleasurable in the past, or that I think is going to be pleasurable. So aren't I then extending the pleasure? No, actually not. Because what are the chances that things are going to happen exactly the way they did before? Or what are the chances that things are going to happen just the most wonderful way that I am imagining it? What I'm doing is setting myself up for disappointment then.
Right.
So that is the value of being in the moment. And that is where anticipation really is, I guess, the enemy of being in the present. And it causes us more suffering. And what I wanted to say to Tim is, what a beautiful thing, Tim, that you that being in this Sangha makes you feel so good. But rather than anticipating it, maybe you could develop that sense of well-being that you feel now. You are embraced by your Sangha right now. We love you. We care for you. What if you could internalize that feeling so that you could bring it up anytime you needed it? Something unpleasant happens to you, makes you feel really bad. You can sit back and meditate for just 10 minutes and revive the feeling. It's not anticipation of coming here. That's different. It is remembering in your being, in your core, and all the fibers of your body, remembering that feeling, that good feeling that you have when you're here. That has become a part of you. It's not something external to anticipate when you're here. It's something that you can pull into your being. We all can. Yes. We can all do that. If you feel good when you're here, internalize that into every cell in your body so that when shit happens, you can bring yourself back to that good feeling that lives in you.
And that's proven. That's
proven.
To shift
just
the
like
brain.
to tweak the language a little bit, if I may, and that is to remember that it's already infusing every cell of your being. It's not that I'm trying to create something that's not already present. It's that I left it to go chase this feeling that my body is anticipating and generating, and know that there's a different thing that's not in those neural pathways, that's in this moment. So the misunderstanding, and this is where relationship addictions get started. I think that because when I'm in Linnell's presence, I feel love, that she is the cause of my loving feelings. And that's a total mistake. The love is in me. I feel safe enough with her to feel that love, okay? She's not generating, she's not putting something in me. She's not causing anything in me.
Wow.
So Ram Dass says, what does it mean to say, I'm in love with you? He says, when it means that when I'm with you, I go to the place in me that's love. You go to the place that's you that's love. And then we are in love with each other. And that's what's happening when we come here, is that you all go to the place in you that's peace. You go to the place in you that's love. You go to the place in you that's joy. And since those feelings are all part of spirit and they're not spatial, they're not temporal, in a very real sense, we are in love with each other. We are in joy with each other. So the seduction, the near enemy that Channy was talking about, is this euphoric recall. Because when I'm in it, it feels like what I'm in when I'm in the room. But my brain is tricking itself because that's not where it is. The source is not the memory. The source is not what I'm associating with. What was real was what was here and what got revealed. And that's going to block me from experiencing. So it's not that it's bad. It's one of the major seductions. Is where people get lost. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I throw this out there? Dr. Porges calls this co-regulation.
Yes.
The group energy, our basically neural networks speak to us, and the co-regulation of the group helps us ground and connect individually. And it's a very powerful thing in a place where people feel safe and can feel the group. The same way that if a group that you're in all becomes heightened aware and or angry or fearful, that the group co-regulation turns into that purpose. So that's the end of this.
So think about what's being co-regulated.
Yeah.
It's that our limbic systems start resonating with each other, okay?
Right.
And when our limbic system start not perceiving threat, we shift to vagal ventral, which is the kingdom part. You shift naturally, okay? The absence of threat, your
Yes.
body wants naturally to shift to ventral. That's where we were meant to live. What keeps us there is constantly listening to the fear, constantly listening to the seductions. So we live in a culture that's seducing you with ads, and the reason you're unhappy is all the 10,000 things you don't have.
Bingo.
And the reason
Yes,
you're
yes,
unhappy is the 10 million threats that are out there that are going to get you if you're not prepared to deal with them when they come.
If you don't take this medication.
And don't do this, and don't buy our insurance, and
That's, I
don't
think, yeah,
plan.
for me, that's what Saturday is. It's a reminder. Every Saturday, I get to remember what's real and what's important. And it also reminds me that in all the muck and all the shit and all the fucked up that's going on out there, there's this, and there's all of you. And on Wednesday at 3:00, there's still all of you. And on Sundays at 6:00 in the evening, you all are still there.
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, true.
And it's funny though, because I try to remember that. I try to, on a Wednesday at 3:00, remember that these people are here.
And all the people who have died, and all the people who are yet to be born.
Yes.
On a quantum level, they're all with us too. So that's what the Buddhists mean by having that whole chain of incarnations
Ah,
connected to those energies. So one last image before we ohm out, that the Buddhists love is that you're a lotus and your roots are in the shit. And what you're doing with it is turning it into this beautiful blossom and the sweetness of the scent. So don't be afraid of the muck. The muck is what we grow in. That's
No mud, no lotus.
no lotus.
right.
And
That's why I'm
Tim,
so happy.
this can be your happy place, but internalize it. It's not just on Saturday morning.
Right.
Let it become part of who you are. So when somebody says, go to your happy place, you have that happy place within you. So we all do.
Yes,
This-
and that's the great reminder of for me. That's the great reminder that it is there, and it's just great to be reminded of it. I like to be reminded of it all the time.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
Wednesdays at 3 o'clock and Sundays at 6
It's
p.m.
like going to best rock and roll concert every single second. I could dig that. Let's go. No problem.
Yes, this group pulls us out of the thick of thin things.
Right.
Here's an idea for you, Tim. Take a screenshot of us right now and keep it on your computer or wherever. And when you're feeling like you're got both feet in the mud or the shit, as Bart says, pull up that screenshot and let that help you feel the happy place that's within you.
Yes. And, you know, I have a favorite meme at Thanksgiving that I send out, which is every good cook knows it's not what's on the table, it's what is in the chairs. And we come here for this food, for thought every Saturday.
Spiritual nourishment.
And yet, as you've all so clearly expressed, it's who's on the screen.
Wow.
So thank you.
That has become a part of you.
Right.
Part
Yes,
of
it
me
has.
that
Yes,
lives
no
in
doubt,
me is
yes.
all of you, and the spirit that is
Yes.
embodied here is now in me and
Yes.
all of you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
You can
We all
unmute
need to
yourselves
close.
if
They're
you
just
like.
next door to each other. Yes, I get it. Yes. They're next door to each other all the time.
Yes. Take a
Yes,
deep breath
yes.
in. Have a great everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
That-
Yeah.
You
Great
too.
for all of you.
Grateful.
Thank you for putting up with me and my bullshit.
It's working.
Yeah.
Yes, finally.
Your
How
bullshit.
long's it taken? 4 years?
Got a lot of blooming lotuses here.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Growing out of Bart's
Again.
shit.
And time to
Right.
feed us, too.
Intertwined roots that are co-regulating us all up to lift us up, right?
Oh my goodness. So Tom and Alice are on their way here. I had a
Oh, good.